How do we calculate how many follicles we can take from your donor area safely? For this, we have to take a look at something called coverage value. Now, coverage value is defined as hairs per square centimeter times the caliber in centimeters. And what we do is we take a look at the donor area, which is divided into occipital, parietal, and temporal regions. What we do is we cut the hairs from the temporal regions, and then we'll measure it with a special caliper to get the caliber of the hair in that region. So, after a lot of studies that have been done, we realized that the lowest acceptable coverage value is 5.6. This means that it cannot be lower than 5.6, otherwise it'll be see-through and patchy. Now, how do we get these numbers and readings? Well, we go to our AI scanning device, which will take a centimeter square and give us the average hairs per follicle and the amount of follicles within that square. It also gives us the caliber, but it's not that accurate, so we prefer to cut hairs and use a caliper. Now that we have our values, we can plug it into this equation and we can work out what the patient's coverage value is. So let's take an example. This is patient X, and the patient has 2.2 hairs per graft with 100 grafts within a square centimeter, and his caliber is 0.08 centimeters. So because he has 2.2 hairs and 100 follicles per square centimeters, that means that there's 220 hairs per square centimeter. So after working that out, we realize that his current coverage value before transplant is 17.6. Now, if the patient's coverage value is 17.6, we'll minus it from the lowest acceptable coverage value, which is 5.6, and then you get 12. You do simple algebra and you get to the number 150 hairs per square centimeter. Now, if there's 150 hairs per square centimeter, we just divide that by 2.2, the average hairs, and we get 68 follicles per centimeter square, which is the amount of follicles we can safely take from the donor area within a square centimeter. Now remember, we're not going to take these follicles all at once. If we do, it will probably damage the donor area, but that's the amount of follicles we'll be able to take throughout the patient's lifespan. I hope this makes sense.